Hey everyone, what's up? My name is Ashley and I'm a reseller on Poshmark and eBay, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the hot topic of the season, taxes. Now, I was really hesitant to make this video even though I'd gotten a ton of requests for it, just because tax advice can be really finicky, and that's why I'm really putting a disclaimer on this video that it's not exactly tax advice, but more so what to expect for the process and how you can best prepare yourself. I find that a lot of people are really nervous going into tax season when they have just started their business, especially if they've never filed with their business before, just because there's so many unknowns out there, and I totally get it. I was kind of in the same boat before. I just had no idea what to expect. So I can give you a little bit about my experience when I did do it on my own versus how things might have changed and why I've decided to go with an accountant moving forward to file my taxes for me. So the first year that I started my business and everything like that, I did do my taxes on my own. I had heard about people recommending hiring a tax professional, but I was just very concerned about how much it would cost. I didn't think I was really making that much money or had that many really complicated expenses to do it on my own. And so that's why I did it on my own that year. And then the second year, I implemented a little bit more into my business. My expenses got more complicated. I just had a lot of different moving parts. I started on Shopify, and that got a little bit more difficult as well because I was collecting my own sales tax versus Poshmark and eBay. They pretty much handle that all for you. So I felt a little bit more comfortable going with a tax professional to file my taxes last year, which was my second year, and I'm really happy I did, and I'll go over a little bit about the pros of hiring a tax professional throughout this whole entire video. The first thing we're going to be talking about is about getting tax advice, because I had no idea how tax professionals worked when I had first started my business. I was really nervous that I would have to pay them for any time I had with them, any questions, essentially like a lawyer, but it's very different if you're working with an accountant or looking to work with them to do any services. They bill off their services they're doing for you. So if they're filing your taxes, if they're filling out any forms for you, if they're filing any sales tax or anything like that, if you have an LLC, creating a business, they will bill you for all those. But if you're just trying to talk with them, figure out if they're a good fit for you, or inquire about any tax questions, they're not going to bill you for any of that. So if you're looking for them just to file your taxes, they'll have a cost for that. It's going to range based on the accountant or the tax firm that you're reaching out to. But for my taxes and for my business, I believe it is about $400 to $500 to file my taxes for me. And that may or may not sound like a lot of money to you depending on where you're at within your business. I will say that looking back from when I filed my taxes myself versus when I filed them with them, I 100% know they saved me so much more money on getting all the deductions in to help decrease how much I owe taxes on. I would highly suggest, after you watch this video, if you have not already, do some research on tax professionals either in your area or in your field to see if anyone would be a good fit. Start developing that relationship now. So even if you decide it's not the right path for you to hire someone to do your taxes for this season, you can continue to ask them questions, and then for any other tax reasons that you need for, whether it be filing or if you ever to take your business to the next level, they can help you with all that other business. And within reselling, it may seem really beneficial to go toward an accountant that only specializes in reselling or anything like that, but don't be concerned about that so much. The firm that I work with, they have worked with so many small businesses, and a lot of them go within reselling as well. So if you're going with a reputable tax firm and if they have a lot of business underneath their belt, they probably handled some sort of small businesses, a little bit of reselling, especially with Amazon growing so big in there as well. And at the end of the day, the biggest thing to know is about the deductions and everything like that in e-commerce in general. In my mind personally, I've never had any issues with my tax accountant. Isn't necessarily a reselling CPA, so don't let that deter you or be really tunnel vision on someone who only focuses on reselling. So get that person or that firm underneath your belt, and you can either decide to go with them after talking with them more, or you may decide that you're going to file on your own. And when I had filed on my own, I used TurboTax. That is the only thing I have any experience with. I've never used H&R Block or any other tools at all. I've only used TurboTax, so I don't have anything to compare it off of. All I can say is that when I did use TurboTax, it was very user-friendly. They walk you through everything. They tell you fill out this if you have this, you would put this into this box here. It's So easy. If you can read, you can fill it out and you can do it just fine. So don't be worried if you do have to fill out on your own. It's not like the old days where you had to use like pen and paper and mail in your taxes. All these systems that we have nowadays, we're so lucky to have, because they really do what they can to make taxes easy for the end user. And then the main thing when you're using these services is that you'll want to make sure, if you're using this for your reselling business, which is why you're watching this video, is that you file under a Schedule C, I believe it's called. And that is a specific filing if you have your own income, small business, things like that. It literally says that on there. You would open it up even if you didn't watch this video and know that you would have to click that option as well, because you would see that you have your own income / sole entrepreneurship business that you have to file taxes for. So the rest of this video is kind of going to be more along the lines of what to expect. So if you are doing your taxes on your own, this would be good things to make sure that you have prepared for when you're going in to do it yourself. However, if you're also working with a tax professional, these are some of the documents and things you're going to want to gather to give to them so that they can do your taxes and fill everything out. And if I'm missing anything here, which there are probably tons of other things they're going to be looking for, they'll reach out to you. But a lot of times as well, when you're working with a tax professional, they'll give you a whole list of things that they're going to need from you. So they'll say that right up front. So the first thing that you're going to need, obviously, is your total sales. This is one of the first things that will pop up when you are going through and filling out your taxes. And it will also ask for the cost of your inventory as well. When it comes to your cost of inventory, this is when a good question to ask a tax professional will come up. You may be doing this already without even realizing it, but there are two specific types of ways that you can calculate your cost of goods when you are doing your taxes. The first way is the cash method, which means you take your cost of goods for everything that you have spent within that year. So if you had spent, $1,000 on inventory for, let's just say the whole entire year, that's super low. But let's say you spent $1,000 at, went to a thrift store, that was your cost of goods, no matter what it was that it sold. Versus the accrual method is when you take your cost of goods only when that item sells. And that is personally what I do. So my total cost of goods, only the total cost of inventory that has sold. So I have a bunch of other inventory that I bought for the year that didn't sell, that is not going to that number, but there's also a ton of those items that had sold from like a prior year that's going into my cost of goods, if that makes sense. But the thing is, you can't flip-flop between years, between the cash method one year and the accrual method the next year, and just go back and forth of what benefits you more. And you can always talk to a tax professional about which method is going to be most beneficial or what works best with the reselling business. Or you may have been doing something from the year prior that you didn't even realize that you'll want to continue forward for the future years. In order to get your total sales, you can use what you have if you keep track of it on your own. But also, if let's say you have not been keeping track of anything, you can pull those numbers. For instance, on Poshmark, the Poshmark sales report has all those numbers for you. And you can also pull those numbers on eBay. I don't know exactly where it's at, but they do have a ton of tax documents on eBay. And also eBay does send you a form. I don't know exactly which form it is. It might be the 1099, it might be something else, but they send you a tax document that shows your total income from eBay. So you can use that number. It has a bunch of other things on there, I believe, about tax and everything like that. And that's also where that would be really easy to send off to an accountant. But there also may be an option on like TurboTax where you can just put in a screenshot of any of those forms, and then they put in a lot of that stuff for you, just like how you would enter your own work W-2, and then they would autofill everything. I believe it's very similar for any other forms that you get, but I might be wrong on that. And I believe Poshmark is going to be start doing this too, sending out forms, because I have started to ask for socials for tax purposes. So if you see that on the Poshmark app, make sure you fill out, because it is going to be necessary and required. So it would not surprise me if we start getting things in the mail from Poshmark similar to eBay about income and withholdings. Reporting your income and cost of goods really is an easy part of filing your taxes. It's very step-by-step, but this next part here, your expenses, is where it can get a little bit more complicated and where I find a lot of like bluster or frustration feelings do come out. Now, it's not complicated in how to do it. It's still going to tell you what to put into each and every box. However, there are just so many things that go within expenses and deductions. This is exactly where an accountant can help save you so much money, because they are experts on knowing what to deduct, how much you can deduct, percentages of things you can deduct, and really overall things that you can deduct that isn't just like straight off your credit card that you use for your business. There could be other things that you use within your life that you do use for your business, such as, your car, your telephone bill, your internet bill, things like that. If it does merge in with your personal life, you could possibly deduct as well. Although $400 may seem like a lot for someone to do your taxes, if you are conducting a large scale business and do have a lot of expenses, they could help you save over $400 in your taxes as well. So if you are doing it on your own, the best advice I can give you is just to do your best and to track everything that you have. If you are not tracking on your own, make sure you're starting to track now everything that you're paying for your business. And that is also another reason why having a separate credit card can be really beneficial, because you can go through your credit card statements and go back through receipts and make sure you can line up, what you paid for what. So you can have all that done, so you're making sure you're not leaving anything out. When you're filling out your expenses, it essentially asks you a lump sum for the year of what you have spent on each category. For instance, one of them is like advertising and marketing, I believe, and it'll ask you basically to put in what you spend for that entire year on advertising and marketing. Within advertising and marketing, they might break it down to a couple other things, but they also have like another other section as well. And this is something maybe you could talk to a tax professional about, because I don't know. When I did my taxes, I wasn't really sure how to break it up, and I put a lot of everything into other because it didn't really match into any of the other categories. So that's a good question to ask a tax professional of, is it okay to put in this other section if I don't really know where to break them out into, because that might be the case with you. And another thing is like supplies. That's a huge one within reselling. You'll want to make sure that you have all the supplies, but it breaks up within the supply category and then has an option like if nothing fits into all the above selections as well. So essentially, if you're doing your taxes on your own, you don't need to like itemize every single little thing in order to prepare for doing your taxes. You'll want to summarize them into categories and then have the amount to put into your taxes. Because I remember when I was filling out my taxes the first year, I had like every little thing itemized separately. Like let's say I paid for List Perfectly and List Perfectly's amount for the year, and then I would have like, let's say you did Posture VA and Posture VA amount for the year, and then like tape and like what tape was for the year and what like scissors were for the year, everything like that. But it's best to like put the tape and the scissors together, and that's going to be like your supplies, and then the Posture VA and List Perfectly, and that's going to go into software. So things like that, you don't have to like really have everything separate. It's going to put it into categories, but you'll want to make sure, just for like audit reasons, that you are able to pull those specific numbers if it ever does come up, because that is what you would need to show. But unfortunately, I don't have all the answers for all the questions about deductions or anything like that. So definitely talk to a tax professional and really consider hiring somebody to do that for you to help maximize the amount for those. The next big thing I'm going to talk about, because it is something that I remembered going into doing my taxes by myself that was a little bit different than I expected, was mileage and car deductions. This is another aspect, like I had mentioned prior, where an accountant can really help you, because there is so many more numbers and deductions and things that can go into taxes than just what you may have been calculating for your mileage throughout the year. And I thought that it was just going to be that simple. I would just put in like how many miles I had spent for the year, and it's like nothing like that at all. Now, it's good to have that number of like how many miles you had spent on mileage, but the one thing I really wish that I kept track of my first year was keeping track of my starting mileage at the beginning of the year and then my mileage at the end of the year. Because no matter how you decide to do your mileage for your taxes, because I think there's a couple different ways, it's going to ask for those numbers. It asks you if it's only like a work car, or if it's a personal car as well, because it considers, I believe, like the car as a whole and depreciation and any amount that you put in work for it throughout the year, and all that goes into it. A lot of things I don't understand and I don't know. So that is where a tax professional can really help you out. However, the only thing I would suggest for you is making sure, especially since the beginning of the year now, if you can estimate what your beginning mileage was for your car at the beginning of the year, and then that way you can have it at the end of the year as well, and making sure that you're keeping track of your specific mileage for your business. All those are going to be things that are going to help you when you're doing your taxes. And then there are so many more things that go into taxes. These are just some of the 3 things: income, expenses, and mileage, that are really big parts that come up within filing your taxes for your reselling business. So hopefully that can give you some insight on what to expect if you do file on your own. But another way that you can prepare for your taxes, and you should prepare for your taxes throughout the year, is by paying estimated taxes. The reason why you'll need to pay estimated taxes, or you'll want to make sure you talk to an accountant to see if you'll need to pay estimated taxes, because it really just depends on your business, is that you want to make sure that you don't get a penalty at the end of the year for not paying enough in taxes throughout the year. Because according to the IRS's site, generally you can avoid a penalty if you owe less than $1,000 in tax after withholding and credits. A tax professional can really help you know how much you owe, because it can vary so much based off your state, how much your business has been growing and making throughout the year, your own personal income, financial situations. There are so many things that can go into it that make up how much you owe in taxes. So a tax professional can really help analyze that for you and know how much you'll be needing to pay throughout the year in order to avoid a penalty. But paying these estimated taxes is super easy to pay online. It only takes about 3 minutes. What I do every quarter, I'll just Google pay estimated taxes online. I'll scroll down to the IRS site, and then it's nice because when you keep doing it, everything remains purple from clicking it prior in your browser history. So that's kind of what I do. I go to the site, and then I essentially get to the point where it says pay online and pay via a bank, and then I just fill out the form. It's a really short form, essentially just verifying you are who you are, so make sure that you are paying estimated taxes for you personally, and then it'll ask you for how much you want to pay, your banking information, you confirm it, and then you can get either a page printed or you can just save it within your documents. I always keep track of how much I pay in estimated taxes. The IRS has that, in their system for reasons. I don't remember if you have to import it, but I believe it remembers just from pulling up your social security number when you're filing your taxes that you have paid that amount. But again, I don't fully remember. You might have to enter it in, but it's always good to keep track of all those numbers. So make sure you write that down when you are paying those estimated taxes. So in conclusion to this video, make sure that you are talking to a tax professional. Even if you don't think that you ever want to hire a tax professional, you really just never know. So try to develop that relationship. If you have any questions from this video, jot those notes down. I'm not going to be answering any questions in the comments about taxes. I want you to bring those questions to a tax professional, because I'm not going to be able to answer anything more than what I have put into this video. So they'll be able to help you a lot more and hopefully push you to start that conversation. When it comes down to it, do not be stressed about filing your taxes. It does not have to be that complicated. Just break it down one by one, take it step by step. If you are doing your taxes on your own through something like TurboTax, break it up in a couple days at a time if you'd like, so you don't get overwhelmed. You don't get your income section done, save the expenses for another day, and that way it doesn't have to feel like you're doing it all at once and just overwhelmed with everything. And if you are deciding to do it on your own, if you do something like TurboTax, if you're filing a Schedule C, they automatically require you to pay for the pro version, which when I was first doing it my first time, I was like, what the heck, I don't want to have to pay $70 to do my taxes, which I guess if you look at it, when it comes to hiring an accountant, it's only about a $330 more extra to not have to worry about setting that time aside at all, and you can just have someone do it for you. So that's definitely a benefit when you think about it. I guess I never really thought about that before, because you do have to pay for TurboTax with it. But anyways, like I was saying, when you have to pay for the pro version, they do allow you to have free virtual chats with CPAs who can answer any questions that you have on TurboTax when you're going through it, and also to look over your taxes at the end. That's what I did. I pretty much filled it all out, and then I had called one saying hey, this was my first time doing it. Can you look over and see if anything is weird or if I missed anything like that? And everything was fine. That's another thing that helps settle your nerves if you are nervous at all, is that no matter which route you take, you can have someone to answer your questions and give you a little bit more comfort in filing. And lastly, honestly start tracking those numbers now. I do have Excel sheets of how I track my inventory and sales, as well as my expenses on my site, ReClothCollection.com. And honestly, there's so many others that have tracking of sales and things like that for your sales and numbers and expenses that can really help you out. Whatever it is, just make sure that it works for you, you understand it, and you have everything that you need to know all your numbers at the end of the year. This will be the first video I say, do not leave any questions in the comments like I mentioned prior. Talk to your tax professional about that. But if you do have any experiences that you want to share in the comments to help anyone else, not any advice per se, but just your experience with doing your taxes on your own versus going with a tax professional, or if you have any advice for finding a tax professional for anyone, feel free to leave those below in the comments in order to help everyone else out. But thank you so much for watching this video. I really do hope it helped. I didn't want to give anything too specific into any how to do your taxes, but hopefully this helped know what to expect and you can be a little bit more confident into going into doing those taxes if you do them by yourself. So go ahead and like this video if it did help you out in that way, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I put out videos every single Wednesday, so I hope to see you guys next week. Bye.